Wonderful. It's great. It is now that I have the privilege to introduce our speaker for this morning, Cindy Gordan. Cynthia Gordan is a spiritualist healer and teacher. She began her journey into the healing arts in 2003 as a certified medical assistant and worked in the field of cardiology for 18 years. In 2009, she began studying esoteric healing and received her healing and teaching certification in 2016 from the Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp Meeting Association. Cindy provides healing that considers the whole person, body, mind, and spirit, and uses healing methods that engage the subtle bodies and biomagnetic fields of the human aura with the use of crystals and sound healing therapy. She's actually started to do a sound bath experience once a month in the AJD on a Sunday, so check the calendar for that because it is really phenomenal. Please join me in welcoming to the platform Cindy Gordan.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here on this beautiful sunny Florida day. So, working with people as a spiritualist healer, I find that it is very common for people to manifest ailments that stem from various issues related to their emotions. So, today I would like to speak a little bit about the subject of emotional healing. Now, the word emotion comes from the Latin emotus or emovere, and it means to move outward, to flow outward. And emotions are central to what it means to be human. We feel deeply, and those emotions often lead us to do things and to express our creativity. The learning here on this planet is emotions, all of them. But most of us try to avoid the ones that are uncomfortable. But they're unique and beautiful as well. It's kind of like a rainbow, isn't it? The rainbow has different gradients of color, and sometimes they're light, sometimes they're very bright and brilliant. And emotions are like that. Now, we wouldn't take the color red out of the rainbow, would we? So, we don't want to ignore emotions such as anger, sadness, or any of the things that we try to avoid. We tend to take the good ones for granted, and then we avoid the ones that are uncomfortable. Not necessarily a great idea. The uncomfortable ones are rich in what they teach us. And if we didn't know the uncomfortable ones, we wouldn't know the good ones, would we? Everything's about contrast here. And we have to have that contrast. But they don't have to be destructive. They can be constructive if we allow them and work with them. Now, this is an excerpt from Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. If you cannot feel your emotions, if you are cut off from them, you will eventually experience them on a purely physical level, as a physical problem or symptom. Now, there's a big difference between observing and judging. When we're judging something, there's always an emotional component to it, isn't there? When we judge something, we have an emotional attachment to it. If we instead are accepting it and just observing without judgment, it becomes neutral. That's why we have to allow ourselves to feel it, not stuff it down into our depths where it will start to fester. We can allow ourselves to feel it so that we can work towards letting it go. According to neuroscientist Dr. Jill Belote-Taylor, emotions are supposed to be temporary experiences, only lasting about 90 seconds, unless you feed them. Then our emotions take on a life of their own when we fuel them by ruminating, catastrophizing about the future, or beating ourselves up for past mistakes. And these mental habits can create painful thought loops, and that can keep us feeling stuck. Now, what about emotions versus states of being? Now, one thing we can learn to do is differentiate between positive emotions that are ego-generated and deeper emotions that emanate from our natural state of connectedness with being. Positive emotions generated by the ego already contain within themselves their opposite, into which they can quickly turn. So here would be some examples. What the ego calls love is really possessiveness and addictive clinging that can turn into hate within a second. Ego-generated emotions are derived from the mind's identification with external factors, which are, of course, all unstable and liable to change at any moment. The deeper emotions are not really emotions at all, but states of being. Emotions exist within the realm of opposites. States of being can be obscured, but they have no opposite. They emanate from within you as the love, joy, and peace that are aspects of your true nature. So what is a negative emotion? It's an emotion that's toxic to the body and interferes with its balance and harmonious functioning. Fear, anxiety, anger, bearing a grudge, sadness, hatred, or intense dislike, jealousy, envy, they all disrupt the energy flow through the body. They affect the heart, the immune system, digestion, production of hormones, and so on. Now, an emotion that does harm to the body can also infect the people you come into contact with, and indirectly, through a process of chain reaction, countless others you may never even meet. There's a generic term for all negative emotions: unhappiness. So, do positive emotions then have the opposite effect on the physical body? Do they strengthen the immune system, invigorate and heal the body? Yes, they do indeed. You know that saying, laughter's the best medicine, right? Okay, so we know a bit about our own emotions, but can we catch other people's emotions? The research suggests that yes, we can. Emotional contagion, or the transfer of emotion between people, appears to occur easily, and even in online situations. in our digital world. We feel bad when others feel bad, and we feel good when others feel good. We just tend to absorb other people's emotions. So that brings up the question, is it mine? Now, how many people here are empaths? Lots, right? So those that are empaths will know what I'm talking about. How many of you have walked into a room and for no apparent reason, you begin to feel an emotion that just doesn't make sense? For instance, all of a sudden you're anxious or you're tense, or you feel sort of angry, or some other discomforting feeling. Now, when we tune into that, you might suddenly realize, hey, wait a minute. A moment ago, I was happy, and now all of a sudden, I feel tense. Then, you spy a person who's sitting maybe back in the corner of the room, and by their body posture and facial expression, you can see that they are looking anxious and tense, as though they're wishing that they were somewhere else. So when we're sensitive, it's common to pick up other people's emotions. But if we can tune in and realize this, then we can ground ourselves and release that, knowing that the emotion we experienced is not ours. Now, our mediums go through that all the time. They'll be doing a reading, they'll feel an emotion given to them through spirit, and that's part of their practice to realize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't my emotion, I'm just giving the information. But they still feel it. So at this point, I want to bring up the subject of energetic fields. So we're all made of vibration. We appear to be solid, but we're vibrating. Everything vibrates. Each of us and the world is made up of both measurable and subtle fields that create and sustain life. And like all energetic structures, a field involves the vibration of energy and carries information. And because of fields, reality is both local, or here and now, and non-local, occurring elsewhere and at other times. That's our multi-dimensional nature. So this means that across time and space, everything is interconnected. So in regard to emotions, it's helpful to understand our human auric field. And there's many theories about the auric field, but most reveal the aura to have a fluid or flowing state made up of different colors, and therefore frequencies. It's magnetic in nature, although it also has electromagnetic properties. It's also reflective of the inner sanctum of the human being. Besides the auric field, there are many other bands of energy that interpenetrate or surround the body. And these might be called energy bodies or energy planes, and their names vary according to culture and system. But in general, these fields are stair steps that link the physical body to higher states. So first we have our physical body, and we have our etheric body, our emotional body, and our mental body. And the corresponding planes are the physical plane, the astral plane, and the spiritual plane. Now, the astral body is actually a bridge between our physical and our mental life, and it serves as a transmitter of vibrations, both from physical to mental and from mental to physical. The astral can be said to correspond to water. We can take that further with the flow of emotion. Now, in regard to chakras, the solar plexus chakra is responsible for themes of confidence, taking action, accountability, and self-esteem. So if your solar plexus is blocked, you could feel tired and depressed. You could have a hard time taking action. You might feel like your actions are fruitless, or you might be dealing with some sort of shame or self-doubt. But the solar plexus chakra deals also with emotions like happiness, confidence, and joy. So if your solar plexus is out of balance, you may need to release any negative emotions that may be stuck. Sprinkle in some healing practices, and you can get any stagnant or overactive energy moving freely, again, so that you can feel your energetic best. Now, there are stages of emotional healing, and there's no hard and fast rules when it comes to emotional healing. It can happen in stages. And we may not move through these stages in a straight line, but we do pass through them eventually on the path to healing. So here's what happens at each stage. The first step is recognizing that you're experiencing pain, distress, grief, whatever it might be. And at this stage, you are acknowledging the existence of your feelings and their impact on your well-being. Awareness is your emotional guidance system. It brings your inner struggles into focus, and it gives you a starting point for healing. So that's why we don't want to stuff those emotions down. You don't want to ignore them, because then they're just going to be in there, back in your unconscious, subconscious mind, causing problems. We have to look at them. Now, the next step would be acceptance. And that means embracing your emotions without judgment or resistance. It lets you allow yourself to feel what you feel, no matter how uncomfortable or painful those emotions might be. And acceptance is a crucial step in emotional healing, because when we resist our feelings, they tend to persist for longer than necessary. My teacher, Don, who was in spirit now, I can't tell you how many times he repeated that when he was teaching. What you resist persists. Then we have to process our emotions. So that means engaging with them consciously and actively. And that involves exploring the root causes of your distress, including any unresolved issues or perhaps some past traumas. If we get to the root of the problem, oftentimes we realize that it has to do with some belief system that at some point we've accepted as true. But if we examine it, it isn't true at all. Then we have to release. And releasing your emotions means letting go of past experiences, pent-up feelings, and all of that energy they consume. This stage may involve expressing your feelings in a more healthy and constructive manner, helping you free yourself from emotional burdens, and it makes space for healing. Then from that, we have growth. Difficult, painful events, they change us. But really, if you look at it, not necessarily for the worse. People who have passed through the stages of emotional healing often emerge with new wisdom, strength, and meaning that they didn't have before. Emotional growth empowers you to make positive changes in your life based on what this difficult experience has taught you. And how many of us have gone through something that at the time we just thought, oh my gosh, this is horrible, right? A couple of years later, when you look back at whatever that situation was, then you're like, gosh, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I think we've all been through that. Then we have to integrate. At this stage of emotional healing, you begin integrating the experience, your feelings, and the lessons that you learned into your daily life. We have to live those lessons. And then lastly, and bestly, transformation. That would be the final stage of the emotional healing. And in that, you transform, you emerge from your experiences as a stronger, more resilient person. You feel healed and ready to move forward, more confident in your ability to get through hard times and maintain your well-being. So what can we actually do to help ourselves move forward in the healing process? Here's a few things. Treat yourself with compassion. Be good to yourself. Sometimes we treat others better than we treat ourselves. That we have to treat ourselves with compassion and with empathy for ourselves. Move through your feelings. When you're in pain, it's natural to try to shut your feelings down, deny your experience, or do things that numb or remove you from the pain you feel. Now, unfortunately, these avoidance coping strategies, they don't yield long-term emotional healing. They just mask things. So what can you do instead? Engage in mindfulness about your inner experience. Practice noticing your thoughts, feelings, and body sensations without trying to judge them or trying to change them. You're just observing them. Being present may be the hardest task to accomplish. It can be difficult to be present for even a moment of time. Our brains are like monkeys diagnosed with ADD who just drank Red Bulls after taking a long nap. They're out of control. So to be present in a world of distractions makes it harder. Being present is not nothing. It demands all of you. Don't trust that you can just be present without trying. Our minds really just don't work like that. It takes careful planning, deliberate effort, and keen self-awareness. Why keen self-awareness? Because we rarely ever realize we're not present. That's why it's said that we get lost in trains of thought. We're not self-aware. We're somewhere else. We have to train our brain to become a watcher of our thoughts rather than the subject of them. And when we can witness our thoughts, we can direct them. But when we are the thoughts, we're just lost in them. Another thing we can do is engage in supportive coping. It can be hard to stop engaging in unhelpful coping strategies. We need to replace them with something better. Much like Indiana Jones replaced a golden idol with a sandbag to prevent the cave from collapsing. So if we choose supportive coping mechanisms instead, any positive activity that helps you regulate your emotions rather than avoiding them can be a supportive coping mechanism. So help yourself manage your emotions in a way that brings you back to your original state and empowers you to choose your actions. Some ways to do that are maybe timed breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, mindfulness, even snuggling your pet. These can help you feel your feelings and move through them in a way that leads to emotional healing. In his book, The Power of Now, to reference Eckhart Tolle again, he makes a case, and a very persuasive one, that our ability to alleviate suffering in our lives is directly connected to our ability to reconnect to the now. In other words, our ability to be present-minded. And that's not about ignoring challenges and looking at beautiful scenery. It's rather about taking the weight of your mind away from the problems, which, by the way, are mostly caused by the mind, and moving that weight to things that can help you with solutions, like being fully present for things that help improve your mood, free up thinking space, or better connect you to your real inner states of being. I'd like to close now by reading a poem by Rumi. I think he really sums it all up very beautifully, because even our most difficult emotions are giving us a gift if we can just recognize it. This is called The Guest House. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thoughts, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Thank you all for listening.